there's a major irreverence that we have towards existence, and it's because of man's game. Man's game being all the systems and whatnot that we have in place for us to collaborate and cooperate. That's fine. But then everybody's chips get put into man's game to such an extent that you begin to believe that this is what life is. Life is money, 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 status, 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 credentials, 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 impress, impress, impress. That's why everybody's so damn empty and hollow. People are engaged in the behavior they're engaged in for the sake of impressing other people, for the sake of pleasing other people, to ingratiate, to assimilate. And it's all done very mindlessly without taking a breath. Because to take a breath, to be in silence for a moment, is to be, quite frankly, in a certain kind of hell. Because believe it or not, all of those honest perceptions and those honest thoughts and those honest feelings, whether or not you want to acknowledge them consciously, man, them suckers, they're in the background. Oh, they exist. They bury themselves deep into our systems, hidden from our conscious selves. But if you really, when you sit in the silence and pay attention, all that botheredness, all that resentment, all those issues are still there, and they rise to the surface. That's why we run away from boredom, we run away from silence, because we all, so many of us, have this underlying chaos. I call it all that we swept under the emotional rug. And what happens when you sweep stuff under the rug? What happens when you don't pay it? When you put the box in front of the dirt, mold, mildew, all kinds of nastiness builds up, and it just it propagates, and it affects us in ways that we're not even aware of, and we're led to be more confused. We all know that person who's in the middle of their stage of life. I'm middle aged, but we all know somebody who, it's like, man, you're so far gone. You're so far gone. Although it's so possible for a person to change, it's very possible for a person to change. It's very unlikely that they will. My thing has always been, some people say they don't believe that people can change. I would say, especially for those kind of examples that I'm talking about, where somebody just gives every indication that it's like virtually impossible for them to change themselves. It's not that these people can't change. It's just that what it would take for them to change, I believe, is sometimes something so specific and something so traumatic, and it's something that has to have such specific timing, and that it's very unlikely, it's highly improbable that person will change. But it doesn't mean that they can't. It's just what stakes are involved. Like, what's the incentive? What's the thing that speaks to them that made them incentivized to do so? And oftentimes, a lot of people, they just, unfortunately, do not have that particular brand of misfortune that opens their eyes, that makes them hit rock bottom. It's not just the misfortune, it's all other kinds of ingredients as well. There's just so many factors that play into whether or not somebody will be inspired to adjust themselves. It's everything. It's every little ingredient. Anyway, but my point, because I love my rants. What was my point about all this? I suppose my point is, let's keep trying, let's keep evolving, let's keep putting the emphasis and the energy into the serious things, into the reasonable things. And I want to keep speaking to how difficult it all is. Existence is difficult. Having peace within you is very difficult. And I'm not some pacifist peace, like it's all good, it's all peace. I think nature is an ugly, tragic thing. I think that there's beauty 1000% to be had. But like I said, it's beautiful second. The beauty of existence is totally secondary to its intrinsic tragedy. Tragedy is woven into the fabric of this earthly existence. But that being said, due to the capabilities of human beings, where we can reason and comprehend and believe, we can alter our perceptions in such a way to where there's no need to focus purely upon the dreary nature of life, which people don't. But also what people do is then they completely ignore the tragic, dreary nature of existence. And that's why we go about so mindlessly in this audacious sort of irreverence towards the transience of existence, and that doesn't do us any favors, because in recognizing the transience, you have appreciation. In recognizing the transience and the tragedy, you have a gratefulness. You have you're more incentivized to be grounded. You could argue there's people that will then seek oblivion, but the people that I would argue who seek oblivion because they recognize the tragedy of existence, there's people that seek oblivion and they're not even consciously recognizing anything. I believe that, again, there's a lot of subconscious stuff going on, but there's people that are constantly seeking oblivion, and that has nothing to do with them thinking about death. The reason why they're seeking oblivion is because they're thinking about humanity. They're thinking about man's games. It's not humanity in a wholesome, healthy way. They're thinking about all this stuff in a very superficial, materialistic way, because man's games has its hooks into their mentality. It's like being born, honestly, in the mother effing matrix. It's like being born with a thing over your head and you're in this virtual reality. That's the way that people go about their day. They think this is all so real, and that's why they feel so empty, because they believe that man's game, which is what people call life, is just such this real thing. This is what life is. And then they wonder why wonder where their emptiness comes from. Where it's coming from is the intrinsic hollowness of man's game, the emptiness, the inevitability of this is not supposed to be fulfilling you. It's like looking for a literal game to be your fulfillment. And man's game, although it's not an overt, literal game that has a stamp on it, this is a game universally recognized. My point is, it's the exact same thing, though. It's the exact same thing. Looking for like video game to fulfill you, to make you feel whole. You're looking for a man's game to make you feel whole. There's nothing truly authentic and organic about it. It's all very transactional, and it's transactional at a very superficial, hollow, empty level. So we can't keep being confused as to where our dissatisfaction is coming from when we put all of our chips into trying to ingratiate, trying to assimilate, trying to people please, trying to gain fulfillment in a societal context that is not, it's mutual exclusive. It's too surface level to fulfill you. Anyway.